I just finished watching Percy Jackson and the Olympian Season 1, so in today's video I'm going to be reviewing every episode and give my final score at the end of the video, which will answer the question of whether Percy Jackson is a perfect book adaptation. Starting off with the introduction to the show, episodes 1 and 2. I think the writers did a perfect job with the introduction to the Percy Jackson world, having it very mysterious and confusing to the people who didn't read the books, and they added in Easter eggs for people who read the books, which happens a lot throughout the show. The first episode mainly follows the same way the book did. We get introduced to Percy at a school trip where he then gets attacked by Miss Dodds, and the episode continues the same way with the episode ending with him arriving at Camp Half-Blood. Overall, the first episode was a great start to the show. The second episode, however, made a lot of changes to the book, which doesn't make it bad, but I thought that the whole Camp Half-Blood part was a bit rushed and could have been dragged out into 2 episodes. After the premiere of the first 2 episodes, my main worry was that the two very important parts from the start of the book were cut out from the show. However, when episodes 3 and 5 came out, they fixed this, with the first one being the Oracle and the second one being the Fates, which I'll talk about later on in the video. Moving back to episode 3, this episode was one of my favorite episodes. The episode starts off with Percy choosing his quest members and leaving the camp. The main part of the episode comes when the trio, Percy, Annabeth, and Grover, arrive at Medusa's house. For those of you who read the book, you would know that this entire scene got changed, but if I'm being honest, it was done a lot better than in the book. In the book, Medusa is portrayed as an evil and boring character, and the entire arc in the book is pretty dragged out. However, in the show they made Medusa more interesting so you can understand why she's angry at the gods. The rest of the episode plays out just like the book, with Percy sending Medusa's head to Olympus. The fourth episode also has some changes in the story compared to the books, but once again this was done for the better. The trio meeting Echidna in the show was done a lot better in the show than it was in the book. In the book, the first interaction with Echidna was just Percy asking her if the Chimera is a dog for like 10 pages, which was pretty boring. However, in the show, Echidna is sent as a punishment from Athena for embarrassing her by sending Medusa's head. The only change I didn't like about this episode that we never see what happens with Echidna after Percy falls from the Ark. The fifth episode is probably the episode with the most changes from the book. At the start of the episode, we see the Fates cutting a strand of yarn, which means someone is going to die soon. Unfortunately, the twist of who dies isn't revealed until the 5th book, so I won't spoil what happens for now. The trio then meets Ares and he sends Annabeth and Percy on a mission to retrieve his shield. While Percy and Annabeth are on a mission, Grover tries getting information out of Ares to make him reveal that he is the lightning thief, which I thought was very well done and made Grover's character in the show a lot better. Percy and Annabeth retrieving the shield was also done very differently from the books, with Percy sacrificing himself by sitting on the golden chair that traps anyone including the gods. Fortunately, Annabeth convinced Hephaestus to free Percy and then returned Ares his shield in exchange for a ride and food. The 6th episode covers the casino arc, which I was looking forward to a lot, but it didn't really deliver. The episode starts strong with Percy using the Iris Rainbow to contact Luke and tell him about their mission. The trio then enters the casino, which is supposed to attract kids only, but in the show we see people of all ages in there, which I find a bit weird. Annabeth and Percy then head to find Hermes for information about where they can find an entrance to the underworld. I'm not sure why Hermes appeared in this episode and they didn't just save him for season 2 since he added no value to the story and was just a bit unnecessary. However, after the trio leaves the casino, we get a really funny scene with Percy trying to drive, and the episode ends with Percy meeting one of Poseidon's servants, letting him know that the war between Poseidon and Zeus has already started, but she still wishes him luck on his quest and gives him 4 pearls that will get him out of the underworld safely, 1 for each of his friends and 1 for his mom. Overall, this episode was fine, but was still disappointing since I was looking forward to the casino scene. The 7th episode took us to the underworld, which was very cool to see. I thought that they nailed everything about the underworld, especially Tartarus. I also really like how they portrayed Hades. In the movie, he is seen as an evil character, but in the show, he's seen as a nice god who doesn't care about all the rivalries in Olympus. At the end of the episode, Percy and Grover use the pearl to escape the underworld and get ready to face Ares. This episode might be my favorite episode, however, the last episode might be slightly better than episode 7. In episode 8, we see the close to the first season, with the first scene being Percy vs. Ares. While this fight was very short, I still think it was done well and it made more sense for Percy being able to only get 1 hit on Ares. After beating Ares, Percy goes straight to Olympus to give Zeus back his bolt. and before I watched the show I did not think that Zeus would be portrayed well, but now I could say that I was completely wrong. The way Zeus's voice booms and there's the sound of thunder each time he talks makes him very intimidating. Percy then talks back to Zeus after he refuses to end the war, which almost gets him killed, but Poseidon saves him. I think the way they had Poseidon appear in the show was way better than how it was done in the book, and it makes his character a whole lot better.
Take your victory. Just spare my son.
Your forbidden son, who should have never been born.
The same as your Thalia. Perseus is one of those heroes, and I showed a measure of that bravery today.
Percy then goes back to Camp Half-Blood, and we get the plot twist that everyone was waiting for. Luke portraying Percy was done slightly different from the books, but it was still really good, and the actor for Luke really nailed the role. The season then ends with Percy warning us about the next adventure, which is referring to the Sea of Monsters. I think this was a great start to this show. The first season covered the first book very well, and the actors all did a great job. However, there were a few problems which stopped it from becoming a perfect adaptation, which answers the question of the video. Now, obviously, it is impossible to make a perfect book adaptation for any book, as some scenes don't work on the screen, which is exactly what happened in Percy Jackson. Lots of the scenes were changed, but for the better, which made them more entertaining. But I think this show could have been perfect if they avoided these few mistakes. The first one being the scenes fading to black. I think mostly everyone can agree that this part of the show is very annoying when something was happening, but the scene fades to black. My second criticism is episode 6. Episode 6 had the potential to be one of the best, but it was ruined for mistakes that could have been avoided easily, such as adding Hermes to the scene, which added nothing to the story, having most of the scene cut, and having the casino just feel like some normal place. If this episode had fixed these mistakes, I would have rated the show 10 out of 10, which leads me to my overall rating of the show, 9.5 out of 10. Overall, a really good show and a strong start to the series, and I know that the upcoming seasons are going to get better and better. That's all for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed my first non-Cobra Kai long-form video. Let me know what other videos I should make, such as Star Wars and Marvel videos. If you haven't watched my series where I write Cobra Kai Season 6, go watch it right here.